Hey guys, welcome. So in this video we are going to work on configuring the dev server for Webpack. So what all are the configuration which are possible for Webpack dev server which we have created in the last video, and this is the continuation for the same. So just to move ahead without wasting time, if there is, so if you can see in Webpack.js configuration, there is nothing called dev server. This particular link would be, you can access it just by Googling it like Webpack dev server. It would be there. And you can also access it in the video in the description link. And if you can see that in my web.js config, I can configure my web server with respect to what all key value pairs which are given over here. Like there is content base, there is compress, there is port. So what is content base? It is nothing but apart from where the dev server should host all the files. So in our case it is definitely going to be distribution, that is dist, and it is, and by default also it is dist. So even if at all you don't give this particular configuration, it is okay for us. Compress is true or false. The compress is again in the prod mode, it will just compress everything with respect to not only HTML, all the JS file. It will just compress everything, so it is respected to compress. For port, by default it is the port on which it was the app was running before. It was nothing but 8080. If at all you want to run your application on some other port, you can definitely configure that. So likewise, let us just go ahead and implement these particular configurations in our application and see how we can manage those. So I'll just minimize this at the bottom, and let me just go ahead and clear my console. So as I go ahead and clear my console, what I'm going to do is this is nothing but my web config file, and I'm just going to, you know going to let me just copy the code, or else I can just, it is nothing but the configuration property is nothing but dev server, and this is going to be an object, and this particular object is going to be have the same three properties which we have just seen. So if I just go ahead and copy and paste these particular properties over here, you can see content base is again going to be a distribution, and this is nothing but an absolute path which is take. That is the reason this is the global variable of node, that is directory name is given over here. Compress is true, and my port is going to be, by my default port is 8080, so I'll just give an example by 6060 maybe. That would be good for us to demonstrate. So this is it, and I'll just go ahead and run my npm run dev. So once I run it, you can see now my application is live on not 8080, but it is live on 6060. So if I just go here and refresh it, it is not going to work. So for it to work, I'm going to do it in 6060. So I just hit 6060, and you can see the things are working over here. At the same time, if you can go and see the bundler, right, it is getting, it is getting bundled properly, and everything is working fine, and rest of the thing is there. So there's one more thing. If you can see, every time even if you go into app.js and you can, if you change anything here, there are a whole lot of configuration, a whole lot of log which is coming on, if at all there, which is really not necessary to see what all things were really deployed into this particular build, into distribution. You can go ahead and also add a configuration for the same, and that is nothing but stats, and the stats would say nothing but errors hyphen only. And now if you just quit this particular build, I just clear the stuff out, and I just say npm run dev, and when I hit this particular, you can see it is working successfully. When I refresh the page, even this is going on fine. At the same time, I go here, just have a look at my logs over here. it would be not as exhaustive as it was before. If I save it, you can see it'll just say it is compiled successfully, no unnecessary logs. So in development mode, whenever the developers are developing into the local mode, it turns out to be very handy. At the same time, there is something called open. Now open true, that means so I'll just quit over here, and I just quit my, oh, I'm sorry, quit my server, and I'll just clear the stuff out. And let me see that I am just closing this particular, you know, this particular tab. And now the open would, for what it would do is, as soon as Webpack, like, it brings up the local server, it also open up a new tab in the browser, so that user doesn't have to hunt and go and write down, and access the URL which is printed in the logs over here. Rather than that, it is directly accessed into a new tab of a browser, of the default browser. So if I just go and npm run dev, it will just open a new, so now a new tab is opened over here directly, and the application is live and working. So this was all about dev configuration. So now actually what is happening over here is all the distribution files, even if I go ahead and delete the stuff out from here, for example, if I move it to trash, even then this particular app would go and work. So this is the difference between hosting your file statically, with which we were doing before we created web development server. But over now, this distribution file there, it is not read from your disk directly, rather than it is hosted on the local host, that is dev server, at the port 6060. So now even if I have removed the distribution file completely, there's no dist file over here, then too the application is working fine. So this is the difference between hosting your file statically and hosting it on a dev server. So thanks a lot, guys. If at all the video has helped you learn a bit, please like, share, and comment, and please follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page link would be given in the description. So thanks a lot, guys.